The United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You guys gotta be louder. I can't really hear you.
And voice.
Now we're gonna do
My voice kind of makes up some movement on the cold.
Thank you. We're going to take a minute of silence and pray for this great country because it's in a time of distress. Children are being kidnapped. Corruption's all it works. So take a time of silence for this country and stand like Americans and take a silence and pray for this great nation to once rise again. Thank you all for coming. I want to explain what today is. Today is Law Day. The explanation, it's under a law that President Eisenhower has given us in 1958, May 1st, 1958. He said it was U.S. Code, Title 36, Subtitle 1, Part A, Chapter 1, Statute 113. Designation, May 1st is Law Day, USA. Purpose, Law Day, USA is a special day of celebration by the people of the United States. 1. In appreciation of their liberties and their reaffirmation of their loyalty to the United States and their rededication to the ideals of equality and justice under the law in their relations with each other and with other countries. 2. For the cultivation of the respect for law that is so vital of the democratic way of life. C. Proclamation. The President is requested to the issue of proclamation. 1. Calling all public officials to display the flag of the United States on all government buildings on Law Day, USA. And 2. Inviting the people of the United States to observe Law Day, USA, with appropriate ceremonies and in other appropriate ways through public entities and private organizations in the schools and other suitable places. Today we're going to express our grievances in the proper civil liberties way. We are Americans, and as Americans, this is the proper way to express our grievances to the Capitol, to our government, to the governor, to the legislation, and everyone else. It is the law. Today is Law Day. It's the start of a new thing because we the people, need to be heard. We have a lot of things scheduled right here, and while I'm sitting here getting prepped up, I'm going to let the veteran come up and speak of some of the needs that the veterans need, why I set up.
I really don't know where to begin. I don't know where to begin. I'm kind of introduced kind of pushed into this. Our government, and especially our White House and the Commander-in-Chief, is degrading our veterans, making them, taking their rights away, taking their benefits away from them. We have 90% of Vietnam veterans are homeless. 80% of our Iraqi veterans are committing suicide because they have nowhere else to go. They're just taking away everything from them. I think they just want to kill everybody, kill us all and get rid of us. Just because we're expecting the government. That's my view. I'm not sure. Anyways, I don't know what else to do when we go from there. That's all I got to say.
So, for this great nation, we want to say thank you to all our veterans for serving this country and fighting for our freedom. We want to say thank you to all our troops in the military, to say thank you for all the service that you have done, that we are here for you. And we want to say thank you for all our police departments that protect and serve our country, to protect us and keep us safe. And hopefully they'll get themselves together and start thinking that we are the people and they need to protect us. So just thank you. I like to play the song that's brought this nation together for multiple times since it started. It's from Lee Greenwood. God bless you, USA.
If tomorrow all the things were gone, I'd work for all my life. And I had to start again, just my children and my wife. Thank my lucky stars to be living here today, 'cause the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston, and New York to LA, where there's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say that I'm proud to be an American, where
say thank you for all that has come. This will be going on YouTube and Twitter and all over the net. So I wanted to make sure that today was the day so we can express our grievances. And we need the chance and opportunity to be able to speak what we have to say. And no one's listening. And that's a problem because we're Americans. And when times get tough, Americans are supposed to stand together because we're Americans. Americans are supposed to help one another. They're supposed to be there for one another because we're family. This is our country. So the very first part of this was about the veterans and the military because we do appreciate them. And we want to make sure we show support because we do love them. And I don't want them to think that we don't, because we do. We appreciate their fight for the freedoms that they give us, and we appreciate for everything that they have done. All the bloodshed that they have created, that's all been shed for our country and our freedoms. And that's what brings us here today, our civil liberties that they fought for. They fought for. They died for. And now our civil liberties are being violated by this government. So, we're going to get into all of it. We have a very corrupted system. With this corruption, we can't be Americans. We're not free. And that's what today is all about, is being free. As long as we don't listen, and as long as we keep our ears closed and blind, it all can happen to you. We're allowing it to happen. Remember, everything that happens in behind these walls and legislation, these are our tax dollars. Our tax dollars. We are Americans, born here, raised here. This is our country. We are the fourth branch of government. We are the people. We are the grand jury. We decide their fate. There is 4 branches of government, and everybody has forgotten the 4th branch. There is the executive branch, is where the president is. There's the legislation branch, which is Congress. Then there is the judicial branch, and that's where the judges and everything else is. But then there's the 4th branch. It's a political arm. And it's called the grand jury. And that is we the people. Because we the people that are American citizens, that our country, our soldiers have fought for, we are the governing bodies. Everybody wants to sit there and keep a blind eye and never listen. These children in the streets, these children everywhere in homes, families are crying and no one's hearing them. They're blind to it. Everybody wants to work. Everybody wants to shuffle around and do their busy days, and they can't take the time to come out here and listen. We have serious issues that are going on here that taxpayers need to know and be aware of. We have children being robbed from their families and kidnapped for money. For money. And parents that are innocent, that didn't do anything wrong, being stripped of every right they have. And these children not having their heritage. They don't know their lineage. And I can prove it. I have the children. I have some of the children that suffered from these things. And the abuse that they endure while they're in the care of the state is unacceptable. Our soldiers fight to keep us free, to keep our families safe. They go away and they come back home and they're mistreated. They're not taken care of. What is our tax dollars paid for? I thought our tax dollars was to pick up the nation when we're in trouble. I thought we put it together and we worked together as a team. That's what made us a great nation. But right now, we're in distress. The people are in distress. Families are in distress. Children, and that's the most important, are in distress. What brings us here today is we have several stories, big stories, that should be heard. Stories that have been ignored for years and no one will do anything. The people are not outraged. Why? Being outraged for something like this should have your attention because it can happen to you. Anybody, this can happen to you. You could be at home one day, your child fell down, and boom, you got CPS at your door and the police at your door taking your children for no reason at all, and it was an accident. And you don't get a choice in it. And then when they get done taking and stripping you of all your rights, they tell your parents they can't have them either. So grandparents won't have their grandchildren. And they place these children with strangers. Strangers. And with these strangers, 9 times out of 10, these children are abused. Because these strangers don't love them. They get paid for them. There's what you call a Title IV. Bill Clinton signed it in 1997. Every one of these children that are removed get paid. The state gets paid $8,000 per child per month. Per month. They get billions of dollars to adopt our children out. For what? Because our children are cattle? That's unacceptable. Our government should be listening to its people. And for Missouri families, this is Jay Nixon's fault. He should be the one to do something. He has the power, and he's refusing to do anything. I know, because I've written them. We all have written them, and we get ignored. What is it going to take to make the families stand together? What's it going to take for America to be outraged? What's it going to take? Is it going to take them coming to your doorstep and take your child? Because it can happen to you. There's a lot of different people out here that's never done anything wrong, have clean records, never broke any laws, but yet they still don't have their children. There's police reports that says that they were exceptionally cleared of any abuse, but yet they still lost their child. Why? Because they give the hospitals too much power. The hospitals kidnap their children without warrants, without anything, but yet they still take them. They hold your children hostage for weeks without a hearing, but yet they sit here and lie, and the legislation says it's only 12 hours. But we can prove it. We got the proof. My child was taken, he was gone for 6 weeks before a warrant ever got issued from a hospital. It all starts with the hospitals, and us people, Americans, are not outraged. Come on now. We should be standing together and saying, hey, it's enough. No more. You can't take these children. It's kidnapping, and it should not be allowed. But no, they ignore it. No different than all of you walking past and just ignoring, not lending an ear, not being supportive. We need all the Americans to stand up on this because we fought for our freedom and for our rights to be able to have family. The government should not, and I mean should not, ever interfere with the upbringing of family, but yet they do. Under the 14th Amendment to Article 2, it clearly states that no government and no legislation shall pass any law that deprives you of your life, your liberty, and property without due process. Well, family courts is a secretive court. There is no due process. There's nothing. No one knows about it, and it's secretive. That's not right. With everything that we go through, we're supposed to have transparency. We're entitled to due process. When they get the police to do their dirty work without warrants, that's corruption. Police corruption. When police come into your home, braiding in without warrants and tackling you down, that's corruption. Right now, we have a serious problem in America. A problem that needs to be addressed. A problem that the President of the United States should not be ignoring. A problem that our governor that has the power to bring these children home should not ignore. CPS needs to be completely demolished and redone. CPS is not deserving of their title. I so by ask the government of the Federal United States of America to cease and desist of removal of any child being taken until these matters are fallen and taken place and looked into. Every child deserves the right to due process. Every mother and every parent deserves due process, and every grandparent deserves the right to know their grandchildren. Nobody has the right to take these children from loving homes. No one has the right to interfere with family. Now, I was going to go into my story, but I'm not going to do that quite yet. I'll probably finish up with my story. But what I want to bring up is my son. His name is Michael Joseph Roche. That's his adopted name. His birth name is Michael Allen Keeler. Now, I don't want to take the spotlight or anything else like that. And I'm going to let him tell you exactly what he endured. Because he was taken. He was taken in 1997. And he lived this nightmare for 17 years. So I want him to tell you to listen. Because he is a child of the system. and children deserve to be heard. And if you can't take 10 minutes to listen to this child and hear what he has to say and stand up for a child, then I don't know what else to do. I give up. Because right now, I'm at my last wits. 17 years to fight for justice for a child is hard. We need you. We need your voices. So Michael, will you please come up here and tell these people what you endured starting from the beginning? Thank you, son.
Have you ever wondered exactly what goes through a child's mind when he finds out his entire life is a lie? For 11 years, he finds out that his mother did nothing wrong, did absolutely nothing wrong, never physically, mentally, or neglected him in any form, hurted him in such way. Have you ever wondered exactly why a child would be taken for revenue? That's what I think. Have you ever thought that a child would never be neglected medically, physically, or mentally abused in any form with his adopted parents? That's what goes through my head. But in 2013 is when I found my mother. And 1997 is when I was taken. I was 2 years old. In 2001 is when I was adopted. So I was gone for 15 years. And I found out in 2013 that my mother never did physically, medically, or mentally abuse me, but my adopted parents did. In fact, in 2011 is when I had a tumor removed. In fact, I've had one for 17 years. And I was 17 years of age when I got removed. But I was with my adopted parents at the time. So, they always thought it was hyperlymph node. They always thought it was nothing serious. But they never did a follow-up. They also physically abused me when I was 2 to 5 years of age. Around that age. When I was in their custody, I had belt bruisings on my back. So there was pretty much physical abuse going on. And when I got older, that kind of stopped, but it was more mental abuse. And I had to deal with that. And for 17, 18 years of living, I found in 2013 is when I found my mother. And when I found her, I had no idea that I had no idea that any of this happened. Like, I always thought that she didn't love me, or she didn't like me, or that she didn't want me. I always assumed that because my adopted parents told me that. And I was just a child, I would always believe what my adopted parents told me. So, when I was told over and over and over that my mother didn't love me, and my mother didn't want me, by the people who were taking care of me, I just believed it and wouldn't go on with it, wouldn't question it until I found my mother. And when I found my mother, all of it changed. I found out from a police report that there was exceptionally cleared of any abuse. No abuse. There was nothing. They never mentally abused me, never physically abused me, emotionally abused me, nothing. And that stated all that stuff in file, and I also remember that. In fact, I remember that there was no abuse because living with my mom, I remember that I was not abused. But I do remember the physical abuse that my adopted parents put me through. I do remember that because belt beatings on my back, at the 2 years age, 3 years age. Of course, the child doesn't remember that. And so my biggest question for you would be, would you ever expect a child growing up to actually know that all this was happening until finding out that his mother never lied to him by talking to his mother? Would you ever think a police officer would go with one side of the story and not talk to another side of the story in, let's say, a car accident? So if a car accident happened, he has to know both sides of the story, right? He can't just know one. That was in my situation. My adoptive parents, they wanted me to only know their side of the story, but not my mother's. My biggest question is, would you ever believe one side of the story, or would you try to get to know both sides of the story? Because that's what I tried to do, and I got ridiculed and harassed constantly on a daily basis by them to this day. Yeah.
Thank you, Michael. There's more to the story, but he's a little nervous, and I think he did a real good job for the first time ever speaking out. I want to bring a woman up here. She's got a RICO case going on for the same instance, for a lot of it. Her name's Sherry. Please give her a great applause.
Hi, thank you very much. My name is Sherry Lagares, and today is not the first day that I'm here on the Capitol steps. I was here in the Capitol in 2002 when a case came down from the appellate court about my son that had dyslexia. And we had won the case. Governor Jay Nixon was the Attorney General at the time. He had filed briefs against us, and we won. So I came to the Capitol on a very short notice because the state law that we had won on, they were repealing. However, so this is not the first time I'm here, but this time that I'm here, it's because, as been talked about, the Division of Family Services, Children's Division, CPS, all of the alphabet soup names that they want to give them, began to collude. They colluded with the school system of some of the people that were involved back during my son's original case and then my other family's cases. So what they did was they began to collude together. Governor Nixon is aware of who I am. He was the Attorney General at the time. Governor Nixon knows what's going on in this state. Governor Nixon is the Chief Magistrate of this state. Chris Costner is the Attorney General. And their office represents all of these political subdivisions that are involved in this child kidnapping. And they're using their policing powers through all of the political subdivisions that they possibly can, that are colluding together in order to make up false documentation, false records, bring in police departments to help them do this type of thing. So a few days ago, April 21st, 2015, a RICO case, civil rights case, was filed in the federal court. And Governor Nixon, Chris Costner, attorneys, judges are all named as defendants. But one thing that perhaps our legislators do not know, but I would like them to be aware, and I would like them to read this RICO case. In this RICO case, the history, State of Missouri, Office of Child Advocate for Children's Protection and Services. And in this document that was filed within this RICO case is one sentence that is most disturbing and I'm not sure that our legislature or anyone else knows. It states, the Missouri Supreme Court also created the Commission on Children's Justice to unify the three branches of government so that comprehensive solutions to child welfare problems could be made in a consistent and rational manner. And I believe everyone here would disagree with that. I believe that unifying all three branches of the government is not how this country was formed.
Thank you, Sherry. Well, I had a special request just now, which I think is a great idea. It's right in, not part of my thing, but my daughter would like to speak about the opposite side of the coin, how children feel when they're left behind and one child gets ripped apart. Cassandra, will you come up here, please?
Okay, so they already know one. I'd like to throw it back a little bit, about the early 1900s, when basically slavery was around.
Really?
Kids were basically seen as profit. They're seen as profit now. The government used women and kids as a work thing. They worked in factories, they died in factories. I mean, there was this one girl, she was 8 years old. She died in a factory because she stood on her feet every day for 13 hours straight because frames would constantly run out. They didn't care about kids, they were just money. Now it's like my brother, all his adoptive parents got. They weren't even his adopted parents, honestly. His adoption papers weren't even real. So, from my point of view, my brother was just a paycheck. And for majority of my life, it went without my brother, my oldest brother. I seen William, my other brother, as my oldest brother, knowing I had another brother. In 4th grade, I had a notebook. We had to write in it every single day after recess. Kind of like a summary about our day and how we feel. Just little stories about things that affect us. And I used to write about my brother all the time. Not knowing, like, a part of you, basically. He's my brother. He came out of the same woman I came out of. There's pictures of us together. But I don't know who he is because he left at a young age. That really affects somebody. You don't know a person. Like, now that my brothers came home, we're so close. We have so many things in common. I mean, we just went to the mall the other day and had a blast. I mean, we ate Panda Express, and I'm telling you, I've never had so much fun with somebody. And honestly, I wish I would have had that when I was younger, because if I would have had that when I was younger, we would be probably 10 times closer. Because I don't have that with my other brothers. Because, like, they don't have similarities in me. So, I mean, what the state kind of messed me up, too. I mean, I could have had more support at my sporting events or more support in my school. But, I mean, he's home now, and he supports me more than anything. And I kind of really enjoy that. So...
Mary, I'm going to bring Mary up. She's running for Lieutenant Governor for 2016,
Thank you.
but she would like to have a few words.
Hi, I'm Mary Carol Bauer. I'm here today to support these mothers, these children that have been wrongfully taken from their homes. I'm also here to let you know that I care about the people in general, the veterans. I also care about families, about children's rights, parents' rights. And I'm here to say that today so that everybody hears it. We need to care for each other. If we live in a careless society, if Missouri turns that way and turns their heart away from the people, then we will have a real big problem, bigger than it is now, because people become upset and angry. And the biggest problem is taking someone else's child that has done nothing wrong, does not deserve to have their child removed from their home. My grandbaby was living in my home with me up until May 9th, 2014, when the police came in with a CPS worker hiding behind the wall and they took my grandbaby out of her playpen. This is a precious baby that had never been around strangers. She was loved, cared for. She was a happy, happy child. The first time we saw her was 13 days after they took her. Traumatized, couldn't even hold her head up. Then the next time we saw her, her mouth was busted. They said she fell on her face in foster care. She's had her mouth cut in foster care. She's had pink eye 3 times. She's had a 90-minute seizure. They didn't call the ambulance until the mother came back home. We have complaints. We have complaints about the foster care system. We have complaints about foster care in general when there is no oversight. I was a former child welfare chairman for 2 terms, elected in Texas by the people. I would never allow this to go on and known about it. Somebody has to have oversight. We need a blue ribbon committee of the public to oversee this foster care system or demolish it. I want you all to know that I am running for office, but my office running is due to what's happened to my granddaughter, to us, and to my daughter who's been harmed by it. There was no grounds for them to take the baby. Recently, as of yesterday, a case was won in another state where the grandmother and the daughter and the grandchild lived in the same house, and they had taken the grandchild out of that house. The court ruled they had to give the baby back. They could not go into somebody's house and take it because somebody is disabled in that house. I agree with that decision. I think anybody in their right minds would agree with that decision. The psychological reports and the units where they're doing these psychologicals, I think we need to say equal time for everyone. Anybody that's involved with it. That means the police need their psychologicals like they used to get. I think that the psychologists need their psychologicals like they used to get. And I think the legislation needs to consider these laws for children that are being proposed in front of them. I think they need to look at them really hard, because if they don't, it causes shame. And Missouri's a great state. Missouri has a lot of good people. If the good people would come forward and stand up in their churches and say no more, we need to know if there was really abuse in this family. We need to see, we need to know. Bring that child to that first hearing. Bring that child to that first meeting so we can see if there's anything wrong with that child. Make the judges, make your local judges see the children. They need to know, because if that children runs home to that parent or runs in the courtroom to that parent or grandparent, then you will know that that child has not been harmed. That's how we used to do it in the old days. Let's go back and do what's right for the people. Let's do what's right for all the people. I thank you for listening.
Sherry, you want to come back up here? She would like to say something else.
In the state of Missouri, there's a system within the Division of Family Services, Children's Services, Alphabet Soup. They call these people guardian ad litems. And guardian ad litems, I'm from the 26th Judicial District, which is around Lake of the Ozarks, and encompasses 5 counties. And there, the guardian ad litems, we have rules, regulations, we have federal statutes under the Child Abuse Prevention Treatment Act, and there are rules and regulations that these guardian ad litems, attorneys, that they appoint, and they call what their job is to do is to represent the best interests of the children. These attorneys are paid, and they're paid very well. However, in the 26th district, and the district where Mary just spoke from, and several other districts, judicial districts within the state of Missouri, these attorneys have been running, along with the judges, from what I call, in my own opinion, a fraud system. And they are not even qualified. They don't have training. The Missouri Supreme Court has rules in place. They don't follow those. The judges have oaths of office. These attorneys are officers of the courts. These attorneys, when they're appointed as guardian ad litems, are judicial arms of the court. And they have brought fraud upon my son and my grandchildren. None of these people were ever had their training, the people that were involved in this case. There was made-up list, and when we began to expose the corruption by recordings, 4-year investigation into this corruption, and when we began to expose that in the public, the judges got together and wrote an administrative order that we could no longer record in the county-owned building because the recordings were being aired with these lists that were not adequate. The list didn't even have lists for the years that they were appointing their buddies. One attorney in my son's case that was appointed a guardian ad litem said in court he did it on purpose. He didn't do his training. He didn't do it. He did it on purpose. And the Judge Aaron Coppin in the 26th District, he finally, after a year and a half, once my son went pro se, got him kicked out of the case for bringing fraud upon the court, fraud upon my grandchildren, fraud upon my son. The judge told him to submit a bill for his time of service. He submitted a bill for $15,000. And he was a fraud. That's part of the RICO case. And then they appointed more guardian ad litems. And then they made up new list. And when we started sunshining, requesting lists all over the state of Missouri, these attorneys that are being appointed by these judges are not trained. They don't even follow the federal bare minimum. So that's all part of that. So everyone needs to make sure that they go to their circuit clerk's office, make sure that they get the list, make sure they check their local court rules, make sure that the good old boy buddy system stops. These lawyers, these judges, they need to be held accountable. There is no immunity. When you bring fraud upon the people and you steal their children, there is no immunity. And we will hold you accountable.
Thank you, Sherry. I do believe I have another speaker, Linda Callahan, up to the podium. Give her a big hand of applause.
Hi. I am so not anonymous. We all know why we're here today. And what I would really like for us to do is to reach out to the people that are not us. This gentleman right here is welcomed himself, and I've welcomed him to our event, and he will be posting some things as well. What I would like to do is for people like him and anyone else that can hear this to educate the public. Educate the public. If Division of Family Services is so great, why do we not know that? Why do we not hear that? Where are they in the public? We all know Make-A-Wish Foundation, right? All about kids, helping kids. They want kids to do better and get more and get their wishes to come true. DFS remains silent and is actually unspoken of except by victims. Why is that? Child Protective Services, an automatic God-given name, right? We all know that any organization named Child Protective Services must be godlike. Must be. It is not. We should demand they change that name, actually, because we all know children are far more protected from the home they came from than the home they placed them into.
Amen.
We have all got a chance to listen to Mike speak today, Michael, you are a blessing. We could probably have thousands of Michaels get up and speak. So where are the ones that are successful? Where are all of the successes from these foster families? Where are all of their stories of success and love and wealth they gathered, or something they learned they never would have in their own family? Where are all these stories? They don't exist. They don't exist. And the other thing that we want to tell people about is the money incentive. We never hear about Make-A-Wish Foundation getting money from anywhere, do we? We never hear about any incentives for the Make-A-Wish Foundation to see the child all the way through to happiness. But we do in Child Protective Services. They take these children, these workers take these children and receive a bonus to see that child all the way through to being placed in a stranger's family. We all know the statistics. More children are harmed when they're placed in foster care than they are when they remain in the home. The system is set up where they are paid to take children. That needs a 100% reversal. But even with that, I think the number one problem that we're facing is accountability. The immunity that these people get to exercise on a daily basis is a direct slap in the face of every one of us sitting here. They actually expect us to believe, and I really don't care what your educational level is, they actually expect us to believe that what they have done to your child and my child was in the best interest of that child. Either we are very, very, very stupid, or they are. And so far, I think it's us. We are not demanding enough of our courts and the people who go into these courtrooms every single day that know that immunity shouldn't be granted to these workers that are doing this. Why do they need immunity? Make-A-Wish Foundation doesn't have immunity. Why does DFS have immunity? Because they need it. Because they know what they are doing is a lie. 80% of the cases in the children that they take are lies, or based on a lie. So how does this happen? How does anything bad happen in our country? What's the saying? Follow the money. So I think my main goal today would be to reach out to everybody that's in the public, and anytime you hear the name foster care, think of money, not children. Anytime you hear the word DFS or Child Protective Services, think of money, because that's what they're doing. They're not thinking of children. My grandchild was removed because of a teaspoon of white corn syrup. That never happened, folks. Never. Never. But they said it did. They said the CPS worker paid to take my child, claimed to a judge that I fed my little 3-month-old grandbaby a teaspoon of white syrup. Well, first thing, we're not stupid, even if I gave him a whole bottle. That is no reason to take a child from a complete bloodline. There's me, my brother, all of us. So why? Next question. Money. Money. We got to stop the money incentive. It's the money. Thanks.
Thank you, Linda. Now, we've heard all these stories, and the biggest question is, why am I here? I don't really talk about myself, and it's hard. Most of the time I start to cry, I break down, because this is the hardest thing in the world you can ever deal with, is losing a child. Honestly, I think it's worse than death, because at least I can 2.5 years old. It was September 10th, 1997. He broke his arm. Don't know how, but he did. The St. Vincent de Paul Hospital, the ER doctor was a residential doctor, which means a student doctor, clearly stated that it was abuse. And he claimed that my husband did it because he's a step-parent. That all step-parents abuse their stepchildren. Well, to me, that's like, being stereotyped. Because I have great step-parents that never lay their hands on me. So that doesn't make sense. But they convinced me of it. Well, they said it was child abuse. I asked the hospital to call the police. They refused. So I did. I called the police department, and the police department did an investigation. Well, while that investigation was going on, the hospital decided to put my child in protective custody without a warrant, without anything. I kept that child from me for 6 weeks. 6 long weeks, without no orders, without anything, hidden by a different name. Nothing. But if you ask them, they only keep the child for 12 hours. That's what the state law says. But they kept my child from September 10th, 1997 to October 20th, 1997. Why is that? Without anything. Then they gave me a temporary order, and they let him come home for about 3 months. Then they automatically came back because my lawyer told me to go to my dad's house and try in a different court to get a change of venue because my dad lived in another state. That change of venue had to be filed in that court. And the court requested that child come up there. So I went up there. And the state of Missouri knew where I was going. I was there for a few weeks. The next thing you know, a warrant was placed for my son's arrest. He was 3 years old. And this warrant was a murder warrant. They kicked in my father's door and held us at gunpoint for 12 hours until Missouri got the proper warrant because Missouri did not give the proper warrant. We held at gunpoint while they waited for a warrant. And then they stole my child. My child was sent back to Missouri, and when he was sent back here, I was put in contempt. I fought hard. I asked for an appeal. I got an appeal. They denied me. My appeal said that there's elements of criminal and civil rights in it, and they said they didn't care. I asked for due process. They said I wasn't entitled to any. So at that time, the minute they told me I wasn't allowed due process, my statute of limitations were told. It means they no longer exist. Shortly after that, my lawyer quit on me in the middle of my case after I paid $12,000. I paid a lot of money for a lawyer. Took all my life savings. I was only 19 years old. Everything that I had, and they took. After that, after my lawyer quit, I got a court-appointed lawyer. They got paid over almost $5,000 to defend me, which didn't do anything but sit there. They decided they were going to terminate my parental rights. And they did. When they terminated my parental rights, they didn't give me no documents. They didn't give me anything. I didn't sign anything. Just my son was gone. That's it. Just gone. When that happened, I was devastated. I didn't know why my child was taken. I had no record of it. They wouldn't give me my file. They locked it up in a vault. They said I wasn't entitled to anything. The appeal board said I wasn't allowed to appeal without my file, and I've been fighting and fighting and fighting. I've written every legislation. I have written the governor. I've written the President of the United States. It went as far as the Department of Justice of the United States, and they wrote me back. They did an investigation and said my rights were deprived criminally. But because my case was 14 years old, and the statute of limitations barred them from doing anything, but I didn't have no due process. My rights were automatically deprived. So why didn't they do something? So now the federal government is in conspiracy of not letting me have remedy. I was born here. I thought I was an American. My parents were born here. They're American. Well, I thought we were entitled to justice, equality, and remedy. And that's what Law Day is about, is equality and justice. So where is my equality? Where is the fact that I'm equal? Where's the fact that my son is equal? Where's the fact that my family should have been equal? Where's the fact that these families should have been equal? Where's our justice? There is no justice. I went long 17 years of fighting this battle and still have not won. I still can't get my file. Therefore, I still can't file my case. But I will, and I'll keep fighting, and I'll keep striving. And if I have to raise every American on this planet and everybody in this world to rise up with me to do so, I will do it. Because this isn't right. Children are not cattle. Children are not money for money, profit. They should not take our children for money, ever. and I mean ever. If there's an abuser in the home, the abuser should be the one isolated, not the child. The child should be placed with family, kept with its family. Child abuse is a crime. Therefore, it belongs in criminal court, not family court. All child abusers are supposed to be put in jail. That's what we want. We don't want no secret courts. We want transparency. So why ain't we getting it? If we're so much the abuser, why is it in secret court? If we really are abusing our children, why isn't everybody hearing about it? They said their excuse, oh, the privacy of the child. Well, in a criminal case, the child is never mentioned. Put a number on the child. Doesn't matter. A child abuse is a crime. And children that are being abused should be protected and kept with their families. Families are there for a reason. It's for their heritage, their lineage, to know who they are, where they belong. Because when they get removed, it don't just affect them, it affects the entire unit. Every child gets affected, whether it be a cousin, aunt, uncle. It doesn't matter how old they are or how young they are. Grandparents suffer. This is family abuse. And that's what I'm going to lead into. I've orchestrated an organization called MAFA LLC, Mothers Against Family Abuse, for these mothers and grandmothers, grandparents, grandfathers, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, fathers, children. It don't matter. If your family and this system is abusing you, if anyone is abusing you, that is family abuse. It doesn't matter if you're a veteran and you're not getting help. It doesn't matter what you're not getting. If they're abusing you and you're suffering, that's family abuse, because we're all family. Period. We're family. So I'm going to get into what MAFA stands for. Family units are the most important in our nation. Keeping families together is our main goal. You ask yourself, what is family abuse? Family abuse is where somebody is deliberately trying to destroy a family unit. This destruction causes severe PTSD, not only in the children, but in the whole family unit. The issues of separation from child to parent, as well as child to grandparent, are devastating, with long-lasting effects with injury that lasts a lifetime. Not only do children need their family, but families need their children too. The problem: alienating parents and grandparents, divorce, forced adoptions, forced parental termination, child abuse, separation of family unity, no transparency in the family courts, no due process in the family court system, no family preservation in our government or laws, Constitution not upheld in the family court system, medical kidnapping, family bonds destroyed, removal of children without evidence or warrants. Solution. There is a solution, folks. Keeping families together, providing family advocates, change the laws to contribute into keeping family units together instead of removing them. Services in the home benefit the family by choice without force. Not to target parents as criminals where no crime has been committed. No immunity for fraud in family court. Blue Ribbon Committee of the Peers of the People for the Child Welfare Board for fair oversight. Direct access for this committee for the prosecuting entity. The statute of limitations, no statute of limitations on any crime that results in these abuses, because the damage is permanent. MAFA LLC is dedicated to make sure these services are put in place with the help of its communities and the people and its volunteers. We are publicly funded by the people, like donations. We help each other. It's a helping hand. We are for the people, by the people. We are the people. We stand for integrity, honesty, justice, and God. We are the voice of the innocent families of Missouri. My name is Reverend Rosemary Dalton, and suffering this long is enough. No parent, no child, no grandparent, no aunt, no uncle, no left behind children, no step parents should ever have to endure this kind of abuse. If you've ever suffered this kind of abuse, you know what I'm talking about. But the people we need to talk to are the people that don't know this is going on. The people we need to address are the ones that are ignoring our cries. There's thousands of us. According to Professor Isham, he's out of Arizona, his statistic says there's 400,000 children removed by DFS. The statistics on that is out of 18 children, only 1 are from abused families. The other 17 are from loving homes. Well, why were the 17 children removed then? If they're from loving, supportive homes, why are they taken? Well, the answer is easy. Bill Clinton put in effect in 1997 what you call an incentive to remove children, which is Title IV. Title IV and Title V funding provides DFS with the money and bonuses. They get a lot of money, more money than you could probably think of. Bonus pays, foster parents get money, adopted parents get money, the hospitals get money. Everybody's hands in it. To me, that sounds a little bit like racketeering to me. All these organizations stealing these children for money, what, to make their pockets grow? And why we, the innocent families, being destroyed? Is that right? Is that fair? Now, look about the 501c3s. They're all part of it too. The government controls them. The churches that are 501c3s, the government controls them. They also help take these children. So now we have to protect our children from all these monsters. They're evil. It's an evil system. But yet you guys still don't want to listen. You guys think, oh, DFS is so great. They're saving children. Oh, they're so great and so wonderful. We could kiss them. You ain't a victim. You don't know. Because if you were on my shoes, you'd be doing the same thing I'm doing. Because it can happen to you. There's a lot of things that you don't understand that these parents have suffered. The abuse that is done by this system, and our governor won't do nothing. And I mean absolutely nothing. He should be ashamed of himself. Our governor, our senators, they were all notified of this event. They should have been out here with us, and they weren't. So we came to them. We're on their steps. But do you see them coming out? They ain't came out. They know we're here. They know what we're about, but they won't show themselves because they're guilty. They're all guilty of this. Because they pass these laws and they won't think another eye. There's laws in effect that try to get passed through and they won't even think for the children. There's Haley's law, Isaiah's law, and multiple other laws. But yet they bat an eye and shuffle away and they deny it. Well, the governor has enough power under Section 207.030 to stop DFS. They have the power to do it, but yet they ignore to. So if the governor himself has this power under that law to strip these CPS people of every right, because they swore to an oath of the Constitution to follow and abide by it, of the Constitution as well as the state Constitution, then why can't they be held accountable? Why is everybody saying they have immunity? They don't have immunity, but they think they do. We as people need to join together and say no more. We need to hold these monsters accountable. They need to be held accountable for every child that was taken illegally, wrongfully, fraudulently. There's such things as, if you don't give due process, the rights that you have, and you fight for them, there's no statute of limitations on kidnapping, ever. Kidnapping and murder are the two crimes in this whole United States that there's no statute of limitations on. And when you take a child wrongfully and illegally, that's kidnapping. It's called legal kidnapping because they're the government. So anybody can just walk in your door and take your child. So from now on, I suggest, because Americans have forgotten our civil liberties, Law Day, May 1st, should go on every year like this until this government fixes itself. And we do this every month until they start listening. We grow, we get bigger, and keep getting bigger and speaking out and gathering families and these victims and finding these children and letting these children speak out, because these children need to have a voice. And that's what we're doing. We're giving these children a voice, because these children can't speak for themselves. And when they try to speak, everyone ignores them. Well, any mother knows that a child deserves to be heard. These children deserve to be heard. These children deserve their families. Divorce, all that, equality, all the way around. Children are the most precious gift God gives us. It's our most precious human right, is to raise our family. No one has that right to interfere with it. Nobody, not even this government. Family law should be completely abolished, because the government should not interfere with the upbringing of family under any circumstance. Now, I would like everyone to take a great time and take a pause and remember every one of these victims. Take a pause for every child that's life is lost in the system without knowing, because there's a lot of children that have been murdered by their foster parents. Parents that have never get to see their children again or even have the chance of hope. And I like to say, I hope I gave you guys a chance of hope, because Law Day is a special day for the people. Law Day is a day to grievance or praise, to remember that we are Americans, to remember to stand tall with our freedom and stand tall with our flags and fly them high and fight for our liberties. These are our liberties. Raising our children is our civil liberties, to raise them without government interference. We, the people, need to have a stand. We, the people, need to be able to say no more. Fix these laws or get out of office. Listen to the people or take a bow and step aside and let someone else that can do the job do the job.
Woohoo! Yeah!
The people don't want you there no more if you're not going to protect our families. If you're not going to listen to the people, then you don't deserve your office.
That's right.
If you don't listen to the people, then you don't deserve to be here. Go home and let the people take back their government. Because we're better off taking care of this ourselves than allow you to make childish decisions about our children. Our children deserve better than this. And now, you got a lot of angry mothers. You got a lot of angry children. You got a lot of angry grandmothers. You got a lot of angry grandfathers. And a lot of these grandfathers are veterans. And veterans that fight for this country and for their right. And they took an oath. As no different than any American on this soil. All Americans have taken an oath to be an American. To take an oath to what? Does anybody remember the oath of the American? The oath of the American. What is it? To defend our Constitution against who? Foreign and all domestic enemies. Anyone that violates this Constitution is a domestic enemy. And if they choose to bring laws into this office and choose to bring laws into our capital and our grounds, then they're committing they're a domestic enemy. They're committing training. And anybody that goes and makes laws against our families is committing training. This is our family. Unless they have absolute proof of abuse, and these cases go into criminal court with transparency and give us due process, this is a criminal act against the people, we the people. And if we the people cannot have a voice, and we the people cannot be heard, and we the people don't see justice, then what is the point of Law Day? Law Day is about standing for equality and justice. There is no justice here. There is no equality, there's no remedy, people are not getting heard, there's nothing but training and corruption. What are we going to do about it? We stand together. We speak our voices. We stand tall and strong, and when Americans are down, we pick them up and stand together. We bind together. We're Americans. We're the home of the brave. We've won every war but one. Where are you? But yet you stand there and let our families get taken and destroyed, and every right we have violated. But yet everyone ignores it. What, does children not to be deserved to be heard? Shouldn't everybody open their eyes? Because this can happen to you. They can come to your door because your child fell off the swing and remove your child just for that. You can ask for a second medical opinion because you disagree with the doctor, and they'll take your child and you'll never see your child again. Trust me, all these parents here, grandparents have dealt with that. Simple reasons like that. Boys will be boys. Boys and little girls will break bones by accident by playing in a playground. You can lose your child for that too. And they don't care because they're worth money. Our children are cattle to them. They've enslaved us and they've told us what to do. No more. We're moms. We're the mama bears of the nation. We're Americans and we need to stand up for our kids.
Right.
Our children deserve to be heard in every aspect of life. Our children deserve to be safe and loved and cared for. But do you listen? Are you listening? Do you hear me? Because our children are totally endangered by the government. Our government is stealing our children and doing absolutely nothing to protect them. They don't care about the family unit, and they're destroying every heritage and lineage that we have. They're destroying what this great nation was. Family. If you cannot stand up for your family, then what will you stand up for? If you won't stand up and be American, then why are you here in America? And if you won't say no more, then why do you even bother to pay taxes? I don't know if anybody else has anything else to say about this, but I love this great nation, and I love my veterans, and I love my police, and I love my people. I don't like the way they act. I don't like the way people are ignoring us, and we need to fix that. Everybody needs to remember their oath. They need to remember they have an oath to protect us. They have an oath to protect and serve our country and to protect our Constitution against all foreign and domestic abuse. They're enemies. A direct violation of the Constitution is training, and that's treasonous acts. And our military and our veterans should get together and start making arrests. Because as long as these people who are making these laws violating our Constitution, that's a direct threat to the United Nations, this whole United States. We're Americans, and our country's in danger. I like to take a time to take a pause and take a few minutes and just remember the soldiers, remember the veterans that lost their lives, that fought for our families to keep us safe and together, that fought for the very freedoms that I'm sitting here expressing that we so deserve and we so dear enjoy and that we want to keep and cherish for generations to come. So I'm going to give you a few minutes of silence and just pray for those soldiers that are out in Afghanistan. Pray for all these soldiers that are defending our flag and our country. Pray for them. Just a few minutes. Thank you for that moment of silence. Mary would like to say a few more things, so I'm going to let her take the podium.
I thank you for that. It's very hard to do a follow-up on that speech, but I would like to say about our veterans becoming homeless, and they recently just enacted things that would help the veterans, but for months and months and years, since all of the wars from Saudi to Afghanistan, everything that's happened, veterans have come home and become homeless. There were no jobs for them. Nobody cared. They ended up out on the street. I've met many of them. I've talked to many of them. My whole family on one side, the majority of them, on both sides actually, have been military. I love those people. I love what they've done for our country. I love the freedoms that they fought for. It's time that we stood up and said no more harming the veterans. They come home, we treat them like the heroes they are. Please, everybody, treat them like the heroes they are. If you see a veteran in need, help them. If you can help them, help them. If you cannot help them, at least thank them for their service. Right. They so much appreciate that. Thank you.
This event was set up to be a little longer, but I'm out of speakers and not everybody showed up. So we're going to start closing. We have another speaker? I think Ron wants to speak.
Uh-oh.
Come on up.
I've got too much to say and not enough time to say it.
Oh, you got lots of time. We got like an hour and 10 minutes.
Oh, you just don't know.
Just don't take all the time because I still got to do the close and the prayer.
Hello, my name is Ron Day. I'm here. I'm with Anonymous. I'm with the people. There's something terribly wrong with this country. People are walking around putting one foot in front of the other. They have eyes, but they don't want to look. They don't want to see. They've got ears, but they don't want to hear. They've got minds, but they don't want to think. They don't want to understand. They're driven by one purpose. You know what that sounds like to me? Zombies. They've got eyes, they don't see. They've got ears, they don't hear. They've got minds, they don't think. They've got hearts, but they don't feel. People need to pull out of the stupor that they are in and wake up. Look, listen. Our government, a government for the people, of the people, by the people, but they're not for us. You know why? Because we allow them to do what they want to do. They do it because we will not stand up. We will not step forward. We will not take control of our country. They work for us. We don't work for them. Look at this building. How much do you suppose it costed? Do you think it costed them? No. It's costing us. Do you think it takes a building like this to make laws? Do you think it takes a building like this for justice? No. It's profit generation. Why? Because we are allowing it. Why? Because, oh, it's not my problem. It's somebody else's problem. Well, guess what? You're alive. Your heart's beating. You're breathing this air. You're standing on this ground. It's your problem too. Now let's talk about justice for a moment. Justice is designed to defend people from harmful acts of others. Now, traffic stops. Where's the justice in that? Who are you harming? A myriad of other laws that are designed for nothing but pure generation of profit, to put money into their pockets. We pay them with our tax dollars. They don't have to steal our money too. They don't have to forcibly take it. They don't have to kidnap us if we refuse to take it, hold us hostage until they do get paid. No. Why are they doing it? Because you're allowing it. Because you will not stand up. You let people like us stand here, you walk by, you ignore us, you don't care. Does anybody left out there have any kind of a heart? Does anybody out there left have any kind of a soul? No, it doesn't seem like it. Because we are all humans. We are all breathing this air. Our hearts are beating. Stop, look, listen, pay attention, feel. Demand a change. There needs to be a change. There's something terribly wrong with this country. Everybody's allowing it to happen. They're stealing your freedom. Do you know what Hitler said about freedom and rights? All you've got to do is take them small increments at a time, almost unnoticeable, imperceptible increments, until you've taken so much of it that it's too far to turn back. It's too far for them to do anything about it. What do you think is happening right here, right now, in our country? Our veterans, they went off to these wars. They fought, they bled, they died for this country. And our country's turning their backs on them. They're allowing this government to diagnose them with disorders, to disarm them, because they swore an oath to uphold our Constitution and to defend it. They know that these veterans, as long as they're armed, as long as they can stand up and defend this country and do what they swore an oath to do. They didn't just swear that oath while they're in the military, during their service. They swore it for life. Ask any veteran. Does your oath to the Constitution stop once you get out of service? No. It's for life. It's not just the veterans, it's not just the military's job to defend our Constitution, uphold our Constitution. The Constitution doesn't just belong to the military, it belongs to all of us. It's up to us to defend it. Families. Families are the backbone of our country. They are the grassroots, the foundation of our country. The children are our future. The future is everybody's problem. Just because somebody's child is taken away and it wasn't your child doesn't mean it's not your problem. The children are our future. The future is everybody's problem. And you don't want to do anything until it happens to you. Well, you know what? It's happening to other people. And if you don't stand up and defend them, how do you expect them to stand up and defend you when it does come to your door, when it does happen to you? What happened to the real America? Back in the real America, when somebody had a problem, when somebody needed help, the whole community piled in to help them. Why? Because they knew that when they needed help, the whole community would pile in to help them too. Where did we go? We're not zombies. We're living, breathing human beings. It's time to stop. It's time to think. It's time to feel. Open your eyes. Open your heart. Open your minds. Open your ears. Pay attention. We're not too far around the corner before you're going to wake up and you're going to find out that you have no freedom left. Every human being has been granted inalienable rights. Inalienable. That means they cannot be taken away, but they're being taken away every day, every minute of every day. Our Constitution, it says these rights shall not be infringed. What is an infringement? An infringement is anything that goes against it. Every day they make thousands of laws to infringe upon those rights. Soon there will be none left. And then what are you going to do? You're going to look back and say, oh, I wish I would have done something sooner. I wish somebody would have brought it to my attention. Well, hey, it's being brought to your attention. Pay attention. You have eyes. I know you see it. How many people here have had to go to court, have had to pay all kinds of money, have had fines, had court costs, had everything else over something that didn't hurt anybody? Almost everyone is. I know almost everyone's had a traffic ticket. Who did you hurt getting that traffic ticket? Nobody. You hurt the government's pocketbook when you don't speed. If you don't stand up for your rights, you're not going to have any. And if you're not just as angry as we are, you ain't paying attention. Time to act. And that time is now. Anytime you need to accomplish something, anytime something needs to get done, there's only one time to do it, and that's the present. You wait until tomorrow, it may be too late. If you want to go ahead and trust your government that is more interested in making new and more serious laws to line their pockets, if you're going to allow it to happen, you deserve whatever you get coming to you. And demand our rights, demand our country back. Show these brave men and women that have bled and died for our freedom that they didn't do it in vain. They didn't do it for no reason. Our government has declared our founding fathers the original domestic terrorists. Our founding fathers, the people that gave us our freedom, that took our freedom from the British. There's too much to say, too much wrong, not enough time to say it. You all know what's wrong. You all can see what's wrong. Think about it. Stop. Do something about it. Stand up. I promise you, very soon it'll be way too late to try.
Thank you, Ron. So I think we've covered just about everything on the corruptions other than one other thing. We have a serious issue with the police corruption in this country. We have Baltimore in eruption, Ferguson here in Missouri went in eruption. For what? Because of policy. The way I see it, our policies are unjustly done. Our police officers act too much like military, and they've forgotten their community policing. We're not the enemy. And the minute the police officers start treating people like what? Criminals, even when we're not criminals, that becomes a problem. So no matter which way we look at it, we're being demoralized and criminalized. Doesn't matter if they take our children. Doesn't matter if they pull us over. Doesn't matter if we're sitting in our home. They find reason to harass us. The way I see it is it's their training. It's not the policeman's fault. And yeah, of course, there's always a few bad apples. So I still give support to them. We just got to teach them how to do it a better way. And that's what it comes down to. Our country needs to be taught to do a better way. Because what they're doing to us, stealing our children, and that's the most important, kidnapping our children from dollars, and thinks it's okay without no immunity. We have no accountability. We have innocent families that are standing out here today that spoke today, that told you their stories of what actually happened to them. No reason at all. Police reports that say exceptionally clears, no evidence of any type, but yet they terminate parental rights and steal the children. We've talked to children that live this system and how they express themselves and how abused they were inside foster care, how abused they were from the adopted parents. And then you heard from the child from the left behind, the one that got left behind, that got to stay with the family, and how much better it was for her, and how much she missed her brother, and how much she much rather had him home. And what it does, the whole system, how the family falls apart. We spoke with grandmothers that are suffering as well. We spoke with veterans. But I think we've covered everything for Law Day. You know, Law Day is about equality and justice. How can you really take a celebration of Law Day across the nation on a holiday that Eisenhower set forth for us on May 1st, 1958, for equality and justice, and to remember that we're Americans, if there's no equal justice? If we don't have due process? If we have secrecy in the courts? How can that be okay? Where are our Americans to stand up and say no more? Don't any of you care about your rights, or are you too busy trying to make a buck and get rich? Because that ain't going to help you. They're going to take that away from you too, because they're already stealing people's homes. They're taxating you and extorting you. They're trying to tax gasoline even more. We're one of the highest tax states there is. You know? So how much more money they're going to take from us? You know, most of us only make $7-8 an hour. They'll take 6 months just to get enough money just to be able to survive throughout the year. Before that's after we pay all our taxes. Most of our money goes to taxes. That's extortion. Just straight up extortion. So they're stealing our children for money. They're using the money that we pay them. It's our tax dollars that are paying it. And you guys are sitting there saying it's okay and turning a blind eye and not caring and walking past us and not stepping to lend an ear and say, what's wrong? What is the real problem? Let's hear it. Let's see it. If you got evidence, let's see it. Well, I got evidence. I have solid proof that this system is crooked. The system has corruption. I have the police report that says exceptionally clear. I have the TPR that says there was no chemical dependency. No evidence of it. No evidence of any mental disease or defect. No evidence of any type of abuse. No sexual, no emotional, no physical to that child or any child in the family. But yet they terminated. They terminated for a mayhap. So everybody walking to the buses or cars or anywhere else, you may have get hit by a car. You may have trip and bust your nose. You may have do that. And if your child does that, your child's being taken and be put in the system in foster care. Because it's a mayhap. Oh, don't let your child go on the street. It may happen. You're going to lose your child. Mayhaps. And that's the most important word that you got to learn is mayhap. Mayhap makes it the best interest of the child. Famous last words. What's the definition of best interest of the child? There's no definition that's listed of what the best interest is. But yet the 14th Amendment clearly states that there ain't no absolute proof of abuse and no absolute proof of any immediate harm. They can't remove the children from the birth mother. The 14th Amendment states that, but they do. What happened to the government not interfering with the family upbringing? They do that too. Why is family law that takes children away not in the criminal courts? If there is child abuse, it needs to be in the criminal court system. It needs to have transparency. And if they're abusing their children, they need to go to jail. And the children shouldn't be isolated from their family. The children should be staying with their family. And the abuser needs to be kept away from the child and the family. Why punish the child more? Why? The child has suffered enough. Why hurt the family more than what is already hurt? Why only just take the abuser and leave the child in a safe environment, a loving, caring environment that people love their children. Grandparents love their children. Why make money on these? That money that they got for an incentive can be placed for veterans, for help for the veterans. That money can be placed for family usage, for the needy families. That money can be used to help the poverty levels. That money can be used for a lot of other things than stealing our children. Better results. We need a better legislation in here. We need somebody writing better laws. And family law just needs to be gone. Because it shouldn't be there. Because it's a direct violation of the Constitution under 14th Amendment, Article 2. Because it deprives your family, deprives you of life, liberty, and property. And no law should be made that way. It says it. The Constitution states it. That no government, no legislation shall pass a law that deprives the rights of people without due process. So if you don't got no due process in that court system shouldn't exist. Secret courts should not be allowed. That's too much training. That's terrorism. That's treason. Why allow the American families to be destroyed? Why allow the American families to be hurt in this manner? Our job is to protect our future. It's for 7 generations. 7. Right now, we'll be lucky to make another generation. Our children have lost their family morals and values. And if they didn't lose their family and morals and values, look at Ferguson. Look at Baltimore. Those are all kids. Kids are doing that. If these kids had their family morals and values, they wouldn't be burning down the cities. If these kids had family morals and values, they wouldn't be rioting. They'd be doing exactly what I'm doing right here, practicing our civil liberties in the correct fashion, because they would have morals and values. But they don't. They don't know the American way. That's our job and responsibility as families, to teach them the American way. But yet we're stripped of that right. I appreciate every single person that did come out here. I want to send my love and many blessings to all of you. I want to say God bless the veterans, and God bless the troops that are out in Afghanistan, and God bless our military that's serving this country. And God bless the souls of those police officers that are trying everything they can with what training they do have. So I appreciate your support. I would want to suggest, if you see us on Facebook, our Facebook account is MAFA LLC, Mothers Against Family Abuse. The video will be posted up to this event. It'll tell you all the details of what's going on here. Share it. Expose it. Do your part. Let's bust the door wide open on this. Let's get these laws changed. Let's just get these people to listen, and let's defend our Constitution the right way, because peace should always be first option. Peace, not war. I thank you for your time. God bless you. And you guys can all leave. Thanks.